The Exemplary Love. Yumi walked ashore, turned her back, and read Peng Guoliang's letter over and over again. Peng Guoliang called Yumi Comrade Wang Yumi. This title was too formal and too noble, and Yumi actually dared not to take it. For the first time, Yumi was seriously called comrade, and an unspeakable self-love welled up in her heart, which was almost sacred. When Yumi saw the word comrade, she gasped for breath, and her chest pushed against her front and kept bulging outward. Peng Guoliang later introduced his mission. His mission was to defend the blue sky of the motherland, and specifically fight against the imperialists, revisionists, and rebels. After reading this, Yumi couldn't stand still and was so happy that she almost collapsed. The sky is always in the sky, but it is too far away. In fact, it has nothing to do with Yumi. It's different now. Sky is tied up with Yumi, and it has become a part of her. In her heart, it is blue, and it is getting longer and longer, further and further. She, Yumi, has merged with the blue sky. What shocked Yumi the most was the phrase, fight against the imperialists, revisionists, and rebels, which was an understatement, but as powerful as an ox. The imperialists, revisionists, and rebels are not ordinary landlords and rich peasants. They are too far away, too powerful, and too advanced. They are in the open, but they are bottomless. It can be said to be mysterious and unpredictable. On the contrary, you don't know where they are. Listen, those are the imperialists, revisionists, and rebels. If there were no planes, you wouldn't be able to see them if you feasted. Peng Guoliang's letter was almost entirely filled with ideals and oaths, determinations and hatreds. At the end, Peng Guoliang suddenly asked, "Are you willing to join me hand in hand to fight against the imperialists, revisionists, and rebels?" Yumi seemed to have been hit by sap, and she was stunned by this sap. The sense of sacredness was gone, but fascination and love grew up little by little. It was just a little bit at first, but suddenly it was surging. Hand in hand. These three words are really a stick, a rolling pin. Every time Yumi reads, it runs over her soft body. Yumi's body is almost spread out, becoming lighter and thinner, very passively but very willingly. Yumi had no strength at all. Her face was pale, and she was leaning on the trunk of the tree, panting laboriously. Peng Guoliang finally exposed his words. The marriage is finally settled. Yumi shed tears. Yumi wiped her hot tears in the direction of 2 ears with her cold palms. But it won't dry. Yumi burst into tears, wiping and wetting. Later, she simply stopped wiping because she knew it would never be done. Yumi simply squatted down, buried her face in her arms, and cried wholeheartedly into her sadness. Gao Suqin had already rinsed her clothes. She still supported the barrel on her hip and stood behind Yumi. Gao Suqin said, "Yumi, enough. Look at yourself." Gao Suqin pursed her lips toward the river and said, "Yumi, look where your barrel has floated." Yumi stood up, and the wooden barrel had floated tens of yards. Yumi saw it, but was blind and just froze there. Gao Suqin said, "Hurry up and catch up. You won't be able to catch it, even if on a plane." Yumi came to her senses, ran to the water's edge, and chased away in the direction of the wind and waves. That night, the news of Yumi's marriage spread in the village. That was all people talked about in private. Yumi found a pilot who was dedicated to fighting against the imperialists, revisionists, and rebels. People in the village were mentally prepared for a girl like Yumi to find a good husband, but the fact that that person was a pilot still exceeded people's expectations. That night, every girl and every boy had an airplane in their mind. It was only as big as a palm, shining brightly in the distant sky with a long tail of air trailing behind its buttocks. This thing is amazing. Only airplanes can fly in the blue sky. How about trying an old sow instead? How about trying an old bull? An old sow or an old bull cannot soar into the sky and become only as big as a palm. Can't even think about it. That plane not only changed Yumi, it certainly changed Wang Lianfang. Wang Lianfang used to be very powerful, but in the end, he only looked after the ground. Now, things in heaven are also under Wang Lianfang's control. Wang Lianfang has his people in the commune, in the county, and now also has people in the sky. He deserves them. Yumi's that person is thousands of miles away, so Yumi's love involves thousands of miles of mountains and rivers, which is unusual. This is the particularly touching part of Yumi's love. They started corresponding. The exchange of letters is different from face-to-face contact. It is in-depth and detailed, but at the same time, it has distance. The comings and goings gave their relationship a color of elegance and culture. In any case, their love is written in black and white, vertical and horizontal, line by line, which is even more fascinating. For most people, Yumi's love is more like love, exemplary but impossible to imitate. In a word, the love of Yumi is really unattainable. People are wrong. No one knows Yumi's current state of mind. Yumi is so struggling. Letters are now a necessity for Yumi, and they have also become Yumi's anxiety, day and night. It is a sickness of Yumi. Yumi, although finished junior primary school, if there were a senior primary school and a middle school in the village, Yumi would of course continue to study. There are none in the village. Yumi has just finished the 3rd grade of elementary school and has only been able to read seriously for 2 years. For many years, Yumi can read generally, but it's extremely difficult to write. Who knew that love is not just about talking, but also writing? Peng Guoliang came one letter after another, and of course, Yumi had to reply one letter after another. This becomes even more difficult. Yumi is such an introverted girl. Introverted girls actually have an extra pair of eyes that look inward. The eyes that look inward can see their inner world clearly, and every corner is meticulous. The problem now is that Yumi cannot express herself on paper by writing. Yumi cannot. She can write so many words, and every sentence or even word of Yumi fails to convey her meaning. It's not easy to ask people casually. It would be too anxious. Yumi could only cry. It would be great if Peng Guoliang could be by Yumi's side. Even if they don't talk, Yumi would look at him, tell him with her eyes, tell him with her fingertips, and even tell him with her back. Yumi couldn't do anything now. She could only push the sense of the meaning in her imagination back to her heart. Yumi suppressed herself. Her tenderness was like the moonlight in the sky, covering the yard. It is so clear that when Yumi reaches out, there will be a shadow of her hand on the ground. However, Yumi cannot catch them. If she grabs a handful, it will still have 5 fingers when they are spread out. Yumi cannot put all the moonlight in the sky into an envelope. Yumi secretly stole Yu Ye's Xinhua dictionary, but what's the use? The dictionary is at hand, but Yumi doesn't know how to use it. Those words that cannot be written are all fish in the water. You know that they are under the water, but none of them belong to you. How troublesome and nerve-wracking this is. Yumi knocked her head. Where are the words? Where are the words? Why can't I write a few more words? When she wrote to the point of helplessness, Yumi looked at the paper and the pen. Desperate, full of words, slowly turned into tears. She clasped her hands on her chest and said, God, have mercy on me. Please have mercy on me.